Okay, this is problem number 4 in the trigonometry final review, practice final, whatever you call it. It basically states that you have a pizza cut into 8 equal pieces, and each area, each sector, each pizza slice has an area of 10.6 inches squared. And it wants to know what is the radius. This is the big question. What is the radius of this thing? So there's 2 ways to go about this. There's probably more, but there's at least 2 ways, and I think the way that the people that wrote the book, people that are generally in charge of Trig in general, I don't know who's in charge of Trig, but they probably want you to use this fantastic sector area formula that was taught in the book. So on this side, we're going to use the sector area formula. And on this side, I'm just going to use the way I would do it if somebody asked me to do the problem. I'll let you take away which way you would like to approach this problem. Remember that the sector area formula is actually based on the formula for the area of a circle itself. So, the 2 situations are very similar. So let's go through the book solution. This is what the book would want you to do. It would want you to say, well, the formula using radians, and maybe we can do both radians and degrees. It all works out. But the formula using radians says that take the angle of my sector, divide it by 2, multiply that times the radius squared, and that gets me the area. In this case, 10.6. Okay? I'm not going to write the units because it's arbitrary. And here's the cool thing. We can figure out what this angle is because we know it's 1/8 of 2 pi. 1/8 of 2 pi is the same thing as 1/8 times 2 pi, and that's pi over 4. So now I know that this is pi over 4. I'm just going to take pi over 4 and divide it by 2. Okay, r squared. So pi over 4 divided by 2 times r squared is equal to 10.6. And we just need to crunch this out for r, and we'll go ahead and do that. Essentially, this is, if you divide pi over 4 by 2, you're taking half of pi over 4, which is simply pi over 8. So now we've got pi over 8 r squared, 10.6. At this point, I'd probably just multiply both sides by 8. That's simple enough to do, and I end up with pi r squared. This looks like the area of the whole circle, right? Pi times radius squared is the area of the entire circle. That shouldn't be surprising. And then we end up with 84.8 when we multiply both sides by 8. We divide by pi, and r squared is 26.992678, blah blah. Take the square root of r, and we end up with 5.19544. Dot dot dot. Okay. We could have easily done the same thing using degrees, right? We could have used degrees, and the formula just changes a little bit. And you could probably just look at your diagram and realize that's a 45-degree angle when you're talking degrees. But the formula, so we'll come over here and we'll just say the formula is pi over 360, or the angle over 360, times r squared equals 10.6. And so this is going to end up getting replaced with 45. You'll multiply both sides by 360, divide by 45, and then take the square root of both sides. And let's just go ahead and do that real quick. 45, 360 r squared and 360 times 10.6, 3816. I'm going to divide both sides by 45, so just divide it by 45, 84.8. Gee, where did that number come from? Oh, I forgot my pi up here, so that's so like with your conversion, the pi comes up in the top. Okay. So same situation we had here. You look, this is exactly the same. So obviously our R is going to end up being 5.19544. Okay. So yeah, you can use this, but if you do this, just make sure you use pi over 360. Here we use 360 over pi. Okay. And that took care of radians. Let's look at this as a different approach. Okay, and I really think this is just a great way to take a pretty simple problem and complicate it. One, you've got to remember these formulas, which is probably not a bad thing to do, but since these formulas are derived from the area of a circle, then, you know, why can't we just use the area of a circle? So the way I think of this is, I know the area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. Now, if I know what one of these sectors is, and I know that there's 8 of them, then this is just equal to 10.6 times 8. Okay? Now, I've already done 10.6 times 8. We did that in this step here, and we ended up with pi r squared equals 84.8. So, using this method, we're already to this step there. I'd be hard pressed to tell any student or anybody, if they were trying to solve a problem like this, to, you know, steadfastly hang on to the area of a sector formula and do it that way. There's a lot more chance of mistake, one in just forgetting the formula, especially if you want to go to degrees and you do like I did and you forget that there's a pi up there. So, you know, to me, the formula I would want you to remember the rest of your life is pi times the radius squared is the area of a circle. And from that, you can get all this. Okay? And hopefully that makes sense. Again, we're going to divide by pi. And then we're going to take the square root. And like I said, why would you do it any other way? The problem doesn't say how many decimal places to express your answer. They express in the problem a 10.6. So I would round to at least 1 decimal place. Since it doesn't specify, 1 or 2 would either one be fine. And if you just went ahead and said it was this, as long as you indicated somehow that, you know, it's more than that, or if you didn't, maybe you just rounded it to say 5 places. I don't care. If you get this close, I know you got it right. If you say 5.2, and I can see your work here, I know you got it right. It's all good. So don't overcomplicate this problem. When you get to this problem, it's number 4 on the final. This is another one where you should just kind of like go, this is so cool that out of 16 problems, one of them is a problem that you probably could have done in 8th grade. So there you go. Just smile when you get to this problem. Knock it out any way you want. If it was me, this is what I would do. So there you go.